It's show number 114 of the School Podcasting's morning announcements, and we're answering some frequently asked questions.
It's the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Here's Dave Jackson.
Hello, it is Dave Jackson, and welcome to a quick and dirty version, a special holiday week version of the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Now, if you're not in the U.S., last Thursday, we had what we call Thanksgiving, where a bunch of overweight Americans get together and eat more food than we should in the first place. It's true. You can contact me at schoolpodcasting@gmail.com or my phone number, 888-563-3222. Easy for me to say, 3228. That's toll-free from podcastvoicemail.com. And what we're going to do today, since I'm kind of squished for time, is I've taken some of the more frequently asked questions that I get, and I thought I would answer them here in the podcast. It's really just that simple. It's coming up today on the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Hi, this is Dave Jackson, and like a well-oiled machine, your body is the perfect engine. However, if you put the wrong food into it over a long period of time, you're going to face significant consequences. I know because I have. Are you like me? You're just too busy to exercise, just too much life in the way? Maybe you're thinking about buying that new latest diet pill that's supposed to erase, block, and dissolve fat and make you thin in just a few days. Order now! Look, it's time to face facts. There is no pill that works in a healthy way with long-term benefits. It's up to you. I'm going to lose 25 pounds, and I'm going to show you how. You can watch and listen to me on the Logical Weight Loss Podcast at logicalloss.com. If I can do it, so can you. Live right, lose weight, live long. It's really that simple. Logical Weight Loss Podcast at logicalloss.com. Come on, you can do it. All right, the first question comes from Danica at Trib, that's T-R-I-B, tribshow.net. It's, check out this podcast. It's Beauty, Brains, and Balls, where sports talk and girl talk collide. How's that for a niche? Very, very cool. She is a member of the School of Podcasting, and she sent me this question. She said, Dave, when it comes to contacting someone for an interview, do I give them my information up front? What's the story on that? What's the best way to do it? And I said, well, the best way to go is, if they have a phone number, phone number is good. If this is your first contact, email is good because you can get your words right. Where if you're on the phone and you're kind of nervous about talking to people, you might kind of stammer and stutter. So I usually start with email, but that doesn't mean, phone is good too. You can always leave a message and chances are you're going to get a voicemail. But email is good. And then, you might want to say something like, first of all, where do you get their information? Go to their website, look for a contact page. If it's a musician or somebody, start with their manager or their publicist. It'll say things. If it's a musician, it'll say something like booking. If it's not, it'll say something like publicist. And the other thing is, make your email brief. Hello, and make sure if there's a name on their website, publicity via, Catherine Jones. Hello, Miss Jones or Catherine. If you're going to go business-like, hello, Miss Jones. My name is Dave Jackson, and I produce an internet radio show. While I don't think there's anything wrong with the word podcast, let's not confuse things. It's an internet radio show that focuses on your topic, right? And when you describe your topic, make sure you describe it in a way that they go, ooh, I might listen to that. And I'm interested in interviewing Joe Schmo. Please call me at XXX, put your number there, or reply to this email if you are interested. So here I am. I produce an internet radio show. So is that lying? No, you're a producer. You're also the host. Internet radio show equals podcast. I'm interested in producing so-and-so. And then let them come back to you. I am interested in this. Can you tell me a little more about it? Well, my internet radio show is a weekly show. In the past, we've talked about blah, 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 blah. My listeners typically are, and then describe your listener. And I would be very interested. We could, set up a time to interview your person at their convenience. And then send that back. You know, give them a little more information, explain to them. Now, if they basically, spit it out, Dave. If they ask you for how many listeners you have, then you give that. And if you have a lot of listeners, by all means, lead with that. We have 3,000 listeners. But if you've got 70, why not wait for them to ask for that? Because what I found in some cases, they don't ask. At the end, they might. You know, and then, again, point out the benefits if you want. Unlike typical radio, our internet radio show will be on our website, you know, forever. I don't know if you want to use forever, but, you know, will be a permanent place on our website for their fans to go and listen to on a regular basis. So, again, keep things simple. Because sometimes when you just bombard them with stats, their eyes roll in the back of their head. Explain to them how this is going to benefit them. But no, I wouldn't say, hi, this is Dave Jackson. I do an internet radio show about podcasting. I have approximately 342 active listeners. I do a weekly show, you know. And if you want to, there are services like Podtrac, podtrac.com, where you can get a survey if you want to know a little more about your listeners. Or if you want to make your own, you can go to things like surveymonkey.com. But I would start with that, keep it simple, and get the information going back to you. Because number one, a lot of times you'll send an email to booking@blah-blah-blah.com. You'll get a reply from Steve Jones, publicist. Now you've got a person's name, and you can use that. You start to build that relationship. Should I ever pay to interview somebody? This is a quick answer. No. There are way too many people to interview for free that understand the publicity and the niche that you can provide. No, do not pay to interview someone. All right, next question comes from Mark Wade of A1ArtistSpotlight.com. Says, Dave, hey, I unsubscribed from my podcast on iTunes, resubscribed. It's only showing 4 episodes. I've got over 20. What's the deal? Well, my guess is a couple things. If you're using PodPress, if you go into WordPress, click on PodPress, the iTunes settings, there is a display at the bottom, show most recent posts, and you put a number in there. And I think the default is 10, it might be 20. And I kind of did some testing on this. I believe it is true. I have a podcast that has more than 50 episodes. Mine was set to 50. I unsubscribed to my podcast. I resubscribed to the podcast, and sure enough, it only showed 50 episodes. I believe that's your biggest problem if you're using PodPress. I know that this podcast, the Morning Announcements, does not use PodPress, and you can get all of my shows in iTunes. So I think that's the biggest problem. And when you go in there and change that, like I changed mine to like 200 on one of my podcasts. If you go into WordPress, go into options, go into reading, you will see that what you're changing is, there's one for how many posts you want to show on your website, and then there's how many posts you want to show in your feed. And when you change that number in PodPress, you're actually changing the number to how many episodes do you want to appear in your feeds. Now, this part I'm a little blurry on. Well, I'm not really blurry on this. I think this is how this works. Let's say you said, okay, only show the last 20 episodes. However, you did 15 blogs and 5 podcasts. I believe, and I'm not completely solid on this answer. So if you want to chime in, again, Dave@schoolofpodcasting.com. I believe this is correct. iTunes counts those blog posts as episodes, even though there's no podcast in them. So let's say you said, show the last 20 episodes, you blogged 15 times, and then put out 5 podcasts. It's only going to show the 5 podcasts. And you go, but wait a minute, there's the 20, and then I got another 30 podcasts after that. No, it's only looking at the first 20. You've only got 5 episodes that either have video or audio, and that's what it's going to show. I'm about 92% sure of that answer. I did some research, searched around iTunes forum today, couldn't find the exact answer. If you know it, feel free to email me. But like I said, I'm about 90% sure of that answer. So if you want to blog and you want a podcast on the same site, what you need to do, and I'm not going to get into the details of this because it would seriously make your eyes roll into the back of your head. You can set up categories in WordPress. Okay, so you could have one category be blog and one category be podcast. And then you could have each one of those categories have their own RSS feed. You could take those feeds, put them in FeedBurner. So now you've got one FeedBurner feed for the blog, which would be kind of everything, and one for just the podcast. You could submit that just podcast only feed to iTunes. That way it's going to show every single one of your podcasts. Then if somebody wants to subscribe to the blog in, say, Feed Demon or something like that, they'll get everything. That's a way to do that. Now, I'm not going to go into how to create an RSS feed with a category. I've got the description. If you go to schoolofpodcasting.com/help, I've got a frequently asked question there. If you go to our show notes at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com, I'll have a link right to that answer so you can kind of read it. It's not super complicated, but it is kind of. There's actually a tutorial for it at theschoolofpodcasting.com that shows you how to do this. And again, it's kind of a niche little thing because some people don't blog at all. And all a blog versus a podcast is, it's an entry onto your website that has no either video or audio or a PDF, things like that. That would be considered a blog, and then a podcast is anything that has some sort of downloadable media. So that's going to do it for this edition of the School of Podcasting's Morning Announcements. I am Dave Jackson, your personal podcast coach. You can contact me at 888-563-3228 or email me at dave@schoolofpodcasting.com. Everything I just mentioned you can find at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com, or you can go out to our website, schoolofpodcasting.com. And forgot to mention, I played the promo earlier for Logical Weight Loss, my new podcast. Want to thank Betty from Becky from podcastdesigns.com. Did another phenomenal piece of album art for me. I'll put that out in the show notes, and you can check that out. And one of the great things about being a member of the School of Podcasting is you get any sort of designs from Becky at podcastdesigns.com, 50% off. That's just one of the bonuses. You can read all the bonuses on our front page at schoolofpodcasting.com. That's the end of the plug. And until we meet again, this is Dave Jackson, your personal podcast coach, saying, class dismissed.